Hi all, so welcome to what I'll call crash course in preliminary economics. I guess this is here to help you prepare for your first assessment task in a few weeks' time. Okay, so we're going to be doing this in, I guess, divide by chapter. So we'll do the first real topic as nature of economics, where we go through the economic problem, the opportunity cost, PPFs, all that sort of stuff. Then we'll go through operation of the economy. That's all about like the circular flow of income, the factors of production, rewards on production, and the business cycle. Then we'll skip over similarities and differences since you all did a bit of a research task for that in class for both my class and McMurtry's class. Before we move on to consumers and businesses. So we'll look in that topic about cost curves, MPCs, APCs, MPSs, APSs, decisions to spend or save, things like that. And then we'll look at businesses themselves, so all about productivity, economies of scale, external and internal, before we jump into demand before your exam. Okay, so we'll start with the first topic, nature of economics. I'll try to make this quick and easy and clear for you guys. Alrighty. Okay, to get started, we're going to look at the first key concept in economics. Okay, and that's what we call the economic problem. Okay, so economics is all about problems. We're trying to solve problems about our behaviors. Now, like you, I want to buy a lot of things. Okay, I want a nicer house. Well, actually, I just want my own house. I want a Ferrari, maybe a Renault Megane. I want some fried chicken right now. Okay, so essentially, I have unlimited wants. Okay, that's me there. But I have no money, or I have a lack of resources. That is the big issue, okay? Now, when we're talking about resources, we're talking about our factors of production. Business studies students will be quite familiar with this, okay? These are all our inputs. So, in this case, it's our land, our labor, our capital, our enterprise. But what do these mean? Okay, we need to actually break it down. Land is our natural resources. The land around us. Second one is labor. Okay, now labor is all the people willing to work. Okay, but we can't just think of labor like that. We need to think about the quantity and quality. Okay, that means it's skilled. No point hiring a dropkick, they're not going to have the skills. When we think about capital, this is a very tricky term in economics because normally when we think about capital, we think about money, which it is, but it also means money that has been saved. Okay, now our money gets saved at a bank or financial intermediary. Now banks provide money to investors. Okay, so as an investor, I might buy some more machine. I might borrow money for my business and I will invest that in machinery or tools, okay? So that's what we mean by capital. It is the money at the end of the day, but we're using that for future investment essentially. Last one is enterprise. Do we have the businesses to provide us the goods? Okay. Now, to help us answer these economic problems, we have 4 key economic questions. First one is, what should we produce? Okay, because we have a scarcity, we have limited resources. We need to start answering these questions to ensure we don't waste anything. Okay? We need to ensure we can decide what to produce. We gotta allocate resources efficiently. Okay? If you don't have enough, you're not gonna waste it all. We want to think about how much we will produce. Okay? We don't want too little, too much. We really want to meet demands. We gotta think about how to produce. Am I going to be employing hundreds and thousands of people to work for me as labor? Or am I going to be using capital? Okay, and last thing, for whom? Distribution. Who gets it? Does everyone get a slice of the pie? Is it those who work getting a slice of the pie? Is it those who work really hard and high incomes getting a slice of the pie? Okay, these are all real key questions we need to ask to address this economic problem of scarcity. Okay, so because we have scarcity, we need to start thinking about a key concept called opportunity cost. Now, when we think about opportunity cost, it really is our next best alternative use. Okay, we need to think rationally. We need to use our resources, our limited resources, most efficiently, and thus we need to decide how are we going to use it. So, opportunity cost is an idea where we have two main goods produced. Okay, a classic economic example is using guns and butter. We need to decide whether we want to use our money on guns or use our money, our limited resources really, on butter to satisfy the needs of society. Okay? And at the end of the day, we're going to be calculating what we call an opportunity cost, which is displayed on what we call a PPF, which you can see over here. Okay? Now, we have different points on our PPF where we can determine with our limited resources how much we're going to make of either good or service. So as you can see in this table, we can actually graph it out. Okay, we can graph it out where at 0 guns on our y-axis, we actually make 320 pieces of butter. Okay, on the x-axis. But at 0 pieces of butter, we can make 80 guns. And this will actually continue on at different points. So at 60 guns, we're only making 80 pieces of butter. At 40 guns, we're making 160 pieces of butter. And then at 20 guns, we're making 240 pieces of butter. Okay, we're looking at how much we're giving up for an additional piece of each. Okay, so we measure this in two ways. First one is what we call opportunity cost for 1 unit. And the easy way to do this is using this equation called OGO. Okay, that means other goes over. So if I was to find the opportunity cost of making guns, I can make 80 guns I'll put 320 on top. So what that means is for every additional gun I make, I lose 4 pieces of butter. Okay, now for every additional butter I make, we can make an optimal 320, and you would put 80 over. 80 over 320 is 0.25 guns. Okay, so the way we can explain this is For every additional gun, we will forfeit 4 pieces of butter. For every additional piece of butter, we will forfeit 0.25 units of guns. Okay, so that's for the first method, tick. Now, we can actually look at what we call the marginal rate of substitution, moving from different points. Okay, so we can move from B to C, or from C to D. If we were to change our production from 80 pieces of butter to 240 pieces of butter, so from B to D, how many guns am I losing? Okay, so if I move from B to D and I increase my production, so for an additional 160 pieces of butter, what is my marginal rate of substitution? How many guns am I losing? So in this situation, we're going to drop from 160 to 20, so that means it's 40 guns. At the end of the day, what you will realize is when you simplify these, it's the exact same opportunity cost as for 1 unit. Okay, so we'll do another one. Okay, so a little bit more practice. In this case, we can make either 120 guns or 320 pieces of butter. So the opportunity cost for guns equals 120, and you'll put the 320 above. So it'll be 2.67. That's your answer. For butter, it'll be 320 with 120 over, and that will equal 0.375. So that essentially covers the first key idea, which is, or the second key idea, which is opportunity cost. But it really is just addressing the economic problem. How are we going to decide what to make? All right, so now we gotta start thinking, and we gotta start assuming actually all things have a similar value, okay? And this is very important in year 12 when we start looking at trade, who makes what, but we really gotta start considering what are we most efficient at? What do we forego the least and have the lower opportunity cost? That is what we'll be producing. Anyway, let's get rid of all this stuff. And we'll look at these other two concepts now. The first one is how new technology impacts on our PPF. Okay, so we could have new technology that improves the production of a certain good. And essentially what's going to happen is our PPF will actually shift. Okay, so if we have new technology, let's say we have new technology to make more guns. Okay, the NRA's gone a bit woohoo or crazy in the head, and they have decided to invest in gun making technology because Americans are a bit, batshit crazy. So what's going to happen is we're actually going to increase our production. So that will represent as new technology. Okay, hopefully that's simple enough. Alternatively, we could have new resources. Okay, what that means is we're going to have more inputs, okay? When you have more things going into the production process, assuming you don't have any dropkicks working for you, you should increase your overall production, okay? So this could be a total shift of our PPF, okay? So when we think about new resources, we're thinking of more land or natural resources. We're using more labor. We got more capital resources. All these three will shift the PPF, and we can essentially call this PPF3. The new one here will be PPF2, and the original is PPF1. Okay, now the last one is what we call unemployment. It's very easy to get confused thinking unemployment means you got some dropkick who doesn't want to work, or some dropkick who's trying to look for a job. Okay, so when we think about unemployment in this case, it means our resources are used ineffectively. Okay, we're not working at our full capacity. We can be working and producing everything. It's like many of you who decide to do shit all in class. Okay, you could be achieving band 6 results, but you choose to play on your phone, you're addicted to some mobile game, or you're thinking about what you're going to eat for dinner. Okay, when we're not using ourselves properly as labor, or using our machines properly, okay, you could do a lot more with your mobile phones, we're actually inside the curve. Okay, now you don't want to be inside the curve. That's really inefficiency. That's a big no-no for many businesses. So it's always an attempt to shift to move ourselves or move production to be on the curve where our peak efficiency. And at the end of the day, we want to be moving out to points beyond the curve. So we want to be out here. Okay, and we might need new technology, more efficiencies, new resources to achieve that. Okay, we're going to go now into essentially our last key point. And it's really about future implications of our choice, okay? What's going to happen between the choices we make now for today and tomorrow, okay? And we can make two things. I should have changed this. That is now capital and that will be consumer goods. And essentially, businesses need to make decisions. Businesses and individuals, we need to make a decision. Where along this curve do we want to be? Do we want to be using more capital now and having less consumer goods? Or enjoying more consumer goods but having less capital goods, okay? Now, it's important you understand what these mean. So consumer goods are things we can use, all right? We can use immediately. We can be satisfied by it, okay? But we can also have capital goods where we experience long-term benefits. And essentially, we got to be thinking about satisfying our wants now or later. Long-term benefits, less satisfaction in the short term. Okay, so individuals and businesses need to have a preference. And we need to be thinking about these at different times. Okay, so Firstly, we've got to think about consumers. They may want to enjoy consumer goods first in the short run, but not be concerned about the long run, okay? And many kids are like that. We think about now, we don't think about the future. While maybe a business may focus more on capital goods because they want to think about survival, not just because of today, but in 6 months, in 6 years, in 10 years, okay? So having those capital goods, allowing them to